Hello, everybody. My name is Mr. Cantor, and this is Modeling with Mr. Cantor. Today, we're going to be looking at Explore Part B. So, before we take a look at these different situations and statements, why don't you please pause this video and read this first one to the left over here to yourself. All right, welcome back. Let's read it together. It says, these three questions are examples of statistical questions. Okay. Please pause the video and read these three statistical questions to yourself, and then we will read them together. All right, welcome back. The second question reads, what percentage of students in the school have a cell phone? The third question reads, which kind of literature, fiction or nonfiction, is most popular among students in the school? All right, please take a minute and pause and ask yourself, do you notice any similarities amongst those questions? Possibly, do you notice any differences? All right, welcome back. The reason why I asked you to do that is because if you look at the question that they're asking us over here on the right, it says, study the examples and non-examples. We haven't looked at the non-examples yet. We're going to do that momentarily. But over here, it says, how are the three statistical questions alike? What do they have in common? So we just read the three different statistical questions, and now we can answer, what do they have alike? So please pause the video, think about that one more time, and then let's answer it together. All right, welcome back. If you said that you noticed in the first question, there was a word cars, and that talks about more than one car, talking about cars, many cars, then you are correct. If you also notice that in the second question, we talk about students, meaning more than one student, then that is also a very good observation. And finally, if you notice in the third question, it also mentions students, then that's also important because we're talking about more than one student. So in all three of these situations, we're talking about more than one object. And because we're collecting data on more than one object, that's what actually makes all three of these questions statistical. Okay, so now that we looked at the three questions and we see that they are all talking about more than one student or a person or an idea or item that we are counting, we can answer part A with the following statement. They require us to collect data about more than one person or thing. When you start collecting data on more than one thing, this is a statistical question. All right, with that said, let's read the not examples of statistical questions. Please pause the video, read these three questions to yourself, and then we will begin to talk about them a little bit deeper. All right, welcome back. Here we go. The first question reads, what color is the principal's car? The second question reads, does Elena have a cell phone? And the third question reads, what kind of literature, fiction or nonfiction, does Diego prefer? Okay, so with that said, the next question they want to ask us in regards to these three questions is, how are the three non-statistical questions alike? What do they have in common? So please pause the video. Now that you have seen examples of statistical questions, and now you see examples that are not statistical questions, what do these non-examples of statistical questions have in common? Please pause the video and let me know. All right, welcome back. If you said you noticed in the first question that we are talking about the principal's car, even though there's an S here, we are talking about one person, the principal. So whatever car the principal has, it's one car. So if that's what you noticed, you are correct. Good job. Now, the second question says, does Elena have a cell phone? If you said that Elena is one person, then again, you are correct. Good job. And for the final question, if you notice, we're talking about Diego, which is one person again, then you are correct. So if you're saying that all three of these questions share the fact that they are all referring to one item or one person, you are correct. So we can address this question that says, how are the three non-statistical questions alike? What do they have in common? We can address this by saying they require us to collect data about one person or thing. Specifically, this data can be collected by just asking the person. We can ask the principal, what color is their car? We can ask Elena, does she have a cell phone? And we can ask Diego, do you like literature, which is fiction, or do you prefer nonfiction? Which one would you rather read? So these three questions can be answered with a simple question to the person, whereas the first 3 questions require some work. Let's talk a little bit more about that right here. It says, how can you find answers to statistical questions? How about answers to non-statistical questions? So we already said that the non-statistical examples, we could simply just ask these people one single question and we will get the response that we need for our own data collection purposes. But when it comes to examples of statistical questions, it gets a little bit more tricky. So why don't you tell me? Please pause the video and let me know. How would you collect data for statistical questions? All right, welcome back. If you said to answer statistical questions, you need to collect data first from a few sources, and to answer a non-statistical question, you can get your data from a single source, you are correct. In order for you to collect your data for statistical questions, it's going to take you more time because you have to ask a lot of people, you have to count many objects, and so it's going to take you a little bit more time than had you had a simple question that you want to just ask one person. So in that lies the major difference between statistical questions and non-statistical questions. One takes a little bit longer to collect data for than the other one. Specifically, statistical questions take more time to collect data for than non-statistical questions. Okay, and with that, let's move on. So part D, they ask us what makes a question a statistical question. So why don't you pause the video and let me know, what do you think? All right, welcome back. If you said what makes a statistical question is that it requires gathering and studying data to answer, then you are correct. It requires time. And the data that you collect is not just from one source. You're getting a lot of sources. You're asking a lot of people. You're getting information on a lot of different cars. You know, you're asking a lot of people what's their favorite type of book, fiction or nonfiction. Once you start collecting information that is much more broad from a lot more people, from a lot more sources, you are talking about a statistical question. If you're getting data from just one person, one thing, one item, then that is not a statistical question. All right? Okay, hopefully this video has been helpful to you in figuring out what is a statistical question versus what is not a statistical question. My name is Mr. Cantor, and I will see you in the next one. Take care for now.